The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Episode 5 recap. Fresh in my mind, just watched it. And right off the bat, obviously, spoilers. Spoiler filled episode every week. This episode was, some people were like, it's whatever. It was like a not even, it was a regular episode, not even that good, or it was just good, or it's just a filler or whatever. But no, it was a story episode. It was a character episode. Very important character episode. I think they needed to spend this episode. They almost needed to spend the amount of time they did on just really having Sam make a decision, and even Bucky making a decision. His whole scene with Zemo was kind of like that, and then it's kind of expanded on in his conversations with Sam throughout the episode on what he should do next and how he should approach actually trying to make the change he wants to happen. But I think what this episode really did was, it made me feel a lot of things, but it made me think about how I hadn't noticed, and almost how they bring it up in the episode too. They bring up how it seems to just be like an ignorance that white people seem to have too. I love that line where Bucky says, Steve and me, when we talked about our plans for the Shield, we didn't think about what it would mean for a black man to wield it, and he says, how could we? Because it does, it slips by, it can slip by even me. I'm guilty of it too, like, it just, what it means to how can Sam be, represent America if America has never properly represented him or properly served him and his people. And they play with that a lot in the scene with Isaiah Bradley. That there's another scene with Isaiah Bradley, which is super important. But it made me realize that, as I've been talking throughout these weeks here about what it means for Sam to decline taking up the mantle of Captain America, I haven't mentioned the obvious fact of things that is brought up in this episode, why should he? Like, why should a black man take up that mantle and represent the country and serve the country when the country hasn't done the same back for him or his people? So that is something I had to kind of realize and remember, that is an obvious reason for Sam to not take it. That was probably going through his head the whole time, and it slipped by a lot of people that it was an obvious reason to not so blatantly take up that to wield the shield and to be Captain America. And ultimately, he has to make a decision in this episode. It's a very important story and character episode. Right off the bat, we only get the one action scene, and yes, you kind of wanted to see, like, I think at the end you wanted to see like that moment where he really becomes, but they're saving it. Obviously, they're saving it for the finale that next week. The last one is the one where it just all comes together in this next, this culmination and this setup for the future now of these two characters that we love, and the new characters even that we've met. And we'll see what their fates are and whatnot. But we start with some action, and the whole fight with John Walker is literally a taking back of the mantle and of the shield. So that was something that definitely had affected when I was watching. Like, this is very powerful shit, because this is like literally like the shield was taken from the people who actually are supposed to wield it. And I think I again go back to the idea of Sam and Bucky kind of embodying Captain America as a team. And I think the scene of them tossing the shield around together is a good example of how together they kind of need each other to be that next generation of representatives for America and for the Captain America mantle, but obviously only one person can wield the shield, and it has to be Sam, now more than ever. And I'll talk about that in a second too, why I think so even more after watching the episode. But fighting John, it's clear that John is either completely corrupted by the serum, or it's just who he's always been, and the serum's bringing it more out of him, and it's to actually have power like he does and to wield it is corrupting him. He just is he's convinced that he's Captain America, but he is completely just blind to what being Captain America actually is or means. It's not like he knew Steve or really what Steve stood for or anything about Steve's values. He just knew what Steve did, and for his actions, and that's it. It's not like he knew Steve deeply and personally to understand what it means to wield that shield like Sam or Bucky would know. So I think he's kind of like regressing into this almost childish, like, mine thing. Like, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Like, and I will do with it what I think is right, and what I'm supposed to do with it. But what he's doing with it is clearly just problematic shit. And then he just, it continues to, he's, obviously the pressure of wielding the shield has been building. I've been talking about that. In every episode it seems that John just can't handle the pressure of it. And it came to a boiling point. And now he feels betrayed, which he really has no right to feel that way at this moment. What he did is just, and I think in the beginning of the episode he is kind of feeling it a little bit, like, I can't believe that I did that, but he doesn't accept or remorse. He just kind of goes with it and makes himself believe that it was the right thing to do, and that whatever I keep doing is going to be the right thing to do, because I'm Captain America. He keeps saying it, like, I'm Captain America, and he's fucking. He's like, that whole battle is very important. It's kind of like it's a fight for taking back what the shield actually means and what it's going to mean going forward. Because if it stays in his hands, John's hands, it's not going to be. It's not going to be the right representation of what the shield means. So that literal fight in the beginning is super important. Yeah, and then from there, John, he can't handle that people don't accept what he did. He can't handle it, and he lashes out again and again. He loses the rank and mantle of Captain America, and now he's. In the comics, it's clear that he's heading towards the U.S. agent moniker. And there is a post-credit scene, by the way, of him kind of getting ready to create that moniker a little bit. I don't know exactly what he becomes next, because he still thinks he's Captain America. He's so convinced. So it's more like he's trying to create his own shield and be Captain America still. But he will become the U.S. agent. I'm sure that, who he ends up working for too, and that's what will bring me to the cameo. Now, when you say cameo, you're supposed to think like, okay, we've seen this person before, but we haven't seen this person before. It's actually interesting though, because first of all, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the great actress from television actress, Seinfeld, Veep. And, film actress, too. She's in plenty of Pixar movies and whatnot. Julia Louis-Dreyfus shows up. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know she was playing a character in the MCU. Now she is, and it's an important character. I read up on the character a little bit. But that character was actually supposed to first appear in Black Widow. We have to remember some things about the shifting around of things because of COVID, too. Black Widow was supposed to be first. And that would have introduced this character that Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays. She's in the film. I think she's in the film when we see it in July. And that was supposed to be the first time we see her, so that when she shows up in this, it's like, oh shit. And that's kind of, so now we're being introduced to her here, and then she'll show up later. And it's the character of Contessa Allegra de la Fontaine. I think it's a very long name. It's cool to have an Italian from Italy as like an important character going forward in the MCU, because she is. She's an Italian character, but she actually goes on to be important in the Nick Fury comics. She's actually also in the comics become Lady Hydra, even though that's a moniker many characters have actually held. She was at one point or another Lady Hydra, and Hydra, if you remember, is the opposite of Shield, or was the opposite of Shield in the kind of a evil fascist organization, and that is who we meet, and she's very clearly a figure of authority in the way she tells John that I would have killed that. I would have killed him too. Like, she's just so like not her immediately. Her views on things are very in line with what you would expect from someone. Literally, it sounded very reminiscent of Hydra. So that doesn't surprise me. But she's also like in the comics, she's like a secret agent. Like she's skilled in combat. She's very like important, integral character. I think she'll probably be the person behind where John's arc goes next, probably in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, she wouldn't have approached him if it wasn't going to mean something for the future of both of their characters. Very curious to see what her role is in Black Widow too. But yeah, we just got to remember that too. Some things were meant to be revealed, differently. Like I read something recently too about another character in another show or movie that was supposed to be revealed to us. There was something that was supposed to, but I'm forgetting now, so forget it. Yeah, and then the episode just becomes very story oriented, very plotty, less action, more plot, more character, depth and whatnot. I think it was great to have Sam and Bucky, Sarah, and this whole family dynamic kind of thing happening. More growth between the two characters, Sam and Bucky, and have their relationship again continue on to that next step, and them becoming more of like a brotherly thing here. And just them playing and jabbing at each other and joking around about how they're just co-workers and not really even friends, but it's clear that they're becoming more friends every day and every mission that they're on together. It's just very clear. And the way that they help each other too in this episode, kind of see even more like what they should do, helping each other see pretty clearly what their paths should be, or what choices they might need to make. I think it's very clear when Sam tells Bucky, you gotta, serve somebody, make somebody else feel better, not make yourself feel better by saying sorry to people. It's very clear to me that he will tell the man we met in the first episode, the old man that he hangs out with in that first episode in Brooklyn. Blanking on the name of the character, but it was Mr. Something, and how Bucky took that man's son. That man is still suffering. We saw it in the first episode. He's still suffering over it. It seems to me that's the clear setup we get here, that he's going to tell that man what he did and try to provide some kind of closure. Like Sam says, someone needs closure. That guy needs fucking closure. So that was probably, that's an obvious setup to me. And then this whole thing about Isaiah Bradley, making it clear to Sam his perspective on the Shield and what it means, and especially what it means to black people in America, and how no self-respecting black man would wield the Shield. But then it just comes down to Sam having to make a choice, and I love the way he makes the choice. He makes it about, how can I not wield this shield in honor of black people in America? How can I not take this shield and show people, like he says, I want to go out there and show people what we can be, what our people could be. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to do that. Having a black man be Captain America, it is having black people really cement what their service is to this country, what their purpose is in this country, what this country owes them. And Sam being Captain America is literally standing up for everybody in the black community, and honoring the sacrifices, like he says. How can I not honor all the sacrifices, even that Steve made, or that Isaiah made, or anybody thus far? I think that it's a very loaded thing he says. It's very clearly about the black community, but it also could be about the Avengers too. Like, all the sacrifices the Avengers have made, all the sacrifices that Isaiah made, or that black people have made to better serve their community, and to progress their community into a more free direction, more equal direction. All the sacrifices that have been made, he honors those sacrifices by becoming Captain America. Now, the way that it makes sense for him to become Captain America was the most powerful scene and moment, and having him train finally too. It embodied everything that came in this episode to end with that. To have him, he has to be, without super soldier powers, nothing. He has to embody almost has to transcend what it means to be Captain America. He has to be better than the current idea of what Captain America means. He has to bring it to this next level. This black man with no powers is going to be the best Captain America that this country needs right now, in this moment. And I think his training is really him becoming even better than, obviously better than John, but like trying to almost be better than Steve. Like, there's this moment of him just trying to be not better than Steve, but just the best Captain America he can be. And when he finally he's just nailing it. He's the training with the shield and all. It's a wonderful scene that embodies the entire episode and brings us right down. You can ask, like, oh, what's in the case too? What's in the case? But it's obvious what's in the case, and it's made of vibranium, and it's just like that shield, and it's very. I mean, even Steve's suits. It's a suit. Come on, even Steve's suits towards the end of the Infinity Saga were weaved with vibranium, Kevlar, and whatnot. It's very clear. Like, it's a Captain. It's a suit. I'm not gonna just blatantly be like it's a Captain America suit, because it might not have the stars. It might not. But it makes sense if it would, wouldn't it? Definitely. Definitely. I just, you know what? If the finale sees Sam in a star spangled suit, and even Bucky maybe having a new suit that embodies him as the White Wolf or something, like, we could have a serious setup for a potential second season where it's not even the Falcon and Winter Soldier anymore. It's Captain America and the White Wolf. They'll even change the title, potentially. And I think, even Sam's little decisions here, I mean, they're impactful. Him not taking the wings back. In the comics, he has the wings and the shield. I don't know that's... They could go a different way with his character in the MCU, and he just doesn't have wings anymore. He's legit Captain America. But we'll see what happens. I think that's a huge moment in the episode, though. He keep them, he says, and the wings no more. And it's kind of like it's a moment of growth from Falcon to Captain America in that moment too. In another way. I think the scene with Zemo and Bucky's very powerful too, because obviously Bucky's making better decisions, and he made the best decision too at this point to give Zemo over to the only true justice there is at this point, and that's that he belongs in the custody of the Wakandans at this point. She said Ayo said though that we're gonna take him to the Raft, and the Raft is a prison for superpowered people. We've seen it once in the films in Captain America: Civil War. It's been mentioned in the Marvel Netflix shows, and I think it was cool to have a mention here that that's where Zemo will be. It's very possible that's setting things up too, because if there are other villains, bless you, thank you. If there are other villains at the Raft in the comics, Zemo goes on to create Masters of Evil or some title I forget, but like a team of villains. But I think it's also just important to Zemo is so relatable as like a person that's what makes him such a great villain, because he's not just straight plain pure evil. The way he stomps on the serum, like in that moment he could have just been like, I'm taking the serum, but he's just like a normal. His views are he's a very relatable character, and it makes him a better antagonist because of it. He's not just straight an evil person, you know what I mean? He's not like an evil villain. Like he has understandable motives, And it's crazy how they could make us care more about him in this series when we hated him for the things he did in Civil War, And that's just good writing. Yeah, that's an important scene. I don't recall if Bucky ever teams up with Zemo in the comics. Again, I didn't read them, so I don't know what I'm saying. I didn't read about that yet in any capacity. But, yeah, just a very, very, very good episode. I think last week's episode was like this peak episode. This week was like a calm before the storm kind of thing. So we have the finale next week, and I can't wait to talk about it. If I forgot anything, it's what it is.